So I was randomly looking through the things I've crocheted. I saw this patchwork cardigan, then realized I've never made a patchwork pullover sweater. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the whole process of making a patchwork pullover. And instead of making it into a full tutorial, I'm going to mix it up a bit, focusing a bit more on my thoughts and how everything comes together, a tiny bit less on the technical aspect. So the first thing is the color. I decided to go with the classic black and white. Luckily, I have enough yarns for both of the colors. If you guys are making this, a little tip, have a look at the color wheel. Basically, two colors next to or opposite each other will look good together. The structure of this sweater is going to be a basic drop shoulder style with one front panel, one back panel, and two sleeves. But the sleeve is going to be a rectangle too. This is probably the simplest structure of a sweater. Next, I need to decide how many columns for one panel. From my past experience, I know that with this yarn, 80 stitches will fit me. This is a sweater I recently made with the same yarn. It has 80 stitches across, so I can use this as a reference. So 80 stitches across, and I want to have 5 squares in a row. That means each square needs to have 16 stitches, and its row count is going to be half of that, which is 8. This is the first draft. I started making the squares, but as I was joining them together, I realized with this arrangement, when the front and the back panel are joined together, 2 squares of the same color will be next to each other at the side seam. So here is the modified version. According to this, I made 34 black squares, 31 white squares, and 2 specials at the shoulders, as you can see here. Initially, I just wanted to use simple black and white squares, but then I thought it'd be fun to add some character to the sweater. I wanted the sweater to say, "Key." So one of the black and one of the white squares are gonna be replaced with this. Also, to make this square, I need to use single crochet instead of double crochet so it can spell the letters more accurately. This is how to make a plain square. So first, make a slip knot. And then because I need 16 stitches across, I'm going to first chain 16. After I chained 16, I'm going to chain one more to turn. And then in the second stitch, in the second chain from the hook, I'm going to work my first double crochet, but I'm going to work it in the back loop. This will make the bottom of the square look neat and also easy to join. So I'm going to turn my work, turn to the back, insert my hook in the back loop, and then make a single crochet. And then I'm left with 2 vertical loops here. I'm going to insert my hook in the left vertical loop and make a single crochet again. And this is going to be my first double crochet. I'm going to put a marker in the top 2 loops to mark this stitch. And then from the next stitch, I'm just going to work 1 double crochet in the back loop of each stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and work a double crochet here in this back loop. And then I'm just going to finish this row with 1 double crochet in the back loop of each chain. I make sure I have 16 stitches before I begin the next row. In the first stitch, I'm going to make my special double crochet, so I'm going to insert my hook. From this row, when we insert the hook, it's always going to be under both loops of the stitch. So I insert my hook and make a single crochet. And then again, insert my hook back in the left vertical loop and make another single crochet. And then from the next stitch, I work 1 double crochet in each stitch. So I work like that all the way to the last stitch, which is marked. And then I'm just gonna repeat this second row, turn my work, and make my special double crochet. Mark this stitch, and then just one double crochet in each stitch. So I did 8 rows in total for a square. At the end of row 8, I just chain 1, cut the yarn and pull through. The reason I did 8 rows is because we have 16 stitches, and because we're using double crochet. For a double crochet, the height is almost twice its width, so that's why to make a square using double crochets, the row count is generally half of its stitch number. This is how to make a square with letters. The first 2 rows in the graph can be done with 1 double crochet row. From the 3rd row in the graph, I need to add in the other color. The 3rd row in the graph is read from left to right. So I worked the first 2 single crochets, and then on the 3rd one I changed color to prepare for the next black square. So basically I'm just changing color 1 stitch earlier. The square is gonna have a right and a wrong side. On the wrong side, I chose to not carry the other color that I'm not working. This hides the color better from the right side. Whenever I don't need the secondary color, I just drop it to the wrong side. Whenever I need the secondary color, I just drag it to where I need it to be and change to that color. The very last 2 rows in the graph is done with 1 row of double crochet as well. And for the 2 special pieces, I started them in the same way, worked the first double crochet, and then did a double crochet 2 together over the next 2 chains. So work the next double crochet to the last 2 loops on hook, and then yarn over, pull up a loop from the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 3. And then for the rest of the row, just work 1 double crochet in each chain. And then at the end of row 2, work a double crochet 2 together, and then 1 last double crochet in the very last stitch. The beginning of row 3 is the same as row 1. I worked my first double crochet and then a double crochet 2 together, and then continue working 1 double crochet in each stitch to finish this row. At the end of row 4, I decreased again. And then I worked 4 more regular double crochet rows to complete this piece. Repeat the process to make a second special one. Once all the squares are done, it's time to sew everything together. I was torn between using a needle and using a hook because needle takes more time but will produce a flatter seam, while hook is easier and works faster. In the end, I decided to stick with my hook. I first lined up the bottom 2 rows of the front panel and used slip stitches to join them together. I attached my yarn in the first stitch and then worked 1 slip stitch in each stitch. When I'm finished with the first column, I simply moved on to the next pair of squares and directly worked a slip stitch in the first stitch. And fastened off after finishing the last pair of squares. Because the seam will be the wrong side, the ones with the letters should be facing the right side. This is the finished back panel after the rows are joined. This is the finished front panel after the rows are joined. Then I joined them at the shoulders. The two black squares at the upper back only needs 12 stitches to be joined with the two white pieces of the front panel. After that, I then joined the columns. I worked roughly 2 slip stitches for each double crochet row. I found it easier to use a smaller hook. I joined the sleeve as one piece and then lined up its center with the shoulder seam and then attached them together from the wrong side using slip stitches. Every 2 slip stitches is joined with 1 double crochet row. After that, I continued joining the side seam because at this point, I realized the sleeves might not be long enough and that I might need to add 1 more row of squares to them. So as you can see, the width is okay, but the sleeve does look a bit short, so I made 6 more squares and added them to the bottom of the sleeves, and it does look better now. To finish this sweater up, I added a neck ribbing, cuffs, and a bottom ribbing, and they're all worked using the same technique. But for the neck and cuffs, I worked 1 more single crochet round before the ribbing. For the neck, I just worked from the right side 1 single crochet in each stitch, and for this edge, 2 single crochets for each double crochet row. So 1 round of single crochet and then the ribbing. For the cuff, I also worked 1 round of single crochet but with decrease. And for this round, I used a smaller hook so the decrease stitch won't create too big a hole. So chain 1 at the beginning of the round, and work 1 single crochet 2 together over the next 2 stitches, and then just continue working single crochet 2 togethers along the cuff edge. So before, my sleeve has 48 stitches. After this round, the stitch number is reduced by half, which makes the sleeve 24 stitches. After that, I switched back to the 5mm to work the cuff. So like I said before, the cuffs, bottom ribbing, and the neck ribbing are worked in the same way. It's just back loop single crochet rows. Each row has 10 stitches. If you don't know how to do that, you can have a look at this tutorial here. So this is the finished result. I did the neck ribbing as well, but I haven't woven in the ends yet. Got one here, it's like a tail, but I did put them to the wrong side. So yeah, this is what it looks like. I feel like under the arm is a bit narrow. I could have used 4 squares, but then this part would be wide as well. So I think the sleeves are pretty good already. I do want to share with you guys some news. As you may know, most of my videos are full tutorials. It's been 2 years and I recently feel like I want to make some changes to my video style. Honestly, it's been so nice making all the useful and helpful tutorials, but I feel like it just kind of limits my creativity because for tutorials, especially beginner-friendly tutorials, I have to focus my design on being simple and clear, but focusing on making my projects and videos simple is making me not learn anything new. I'm not making progress, I'm not moving forward in my needlework journey. So from today, my video is gonna be focusing more on my thoughts, how I design my crochet and knitting, and walking you guys through the process so you'll understand why I'm doing certain things in this way and other stuff in another way, and that way we can all learn together. So in a word, my future videos are gonna be more like this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.